Hi, I'm Blue, and I did my project on the Inklings, and I made it into kind of a movie thing, so.
The Inklings. Since the Inklings is my topic, I thought I'd make my life difficult by doing the entire presentation in ink. The Inklings were an informal gathering of friends, all British, male, and Christians for the most part. Most of them were also, in some way, associated with Oxford University. The name The Inklings was a bit of a joke between them, meaning people with vague ideas and also people who dabbled in ink. They met regularly from the 1930s to the 1950s to read and discuss their works. Though the manuscript reading took place mainly in college, the group often held meetings at the Eagle and Child pub on St. Giles. The group often referred to the pub as either the Bird and Baby or just the Bird. The most famous members of the Inklings were J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis. You may have heard of them. I don't know. One of them wrote this whole thing about hobbits and this ring, and the other about this weird wardrobe, and a bunch of other stories, collectively. Seriously, though, the group often encouraged each other's writings and urged publication. So, without this group, The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, The Chronicles of Narnia, and many other stories might not exist at all. Can you imagine? What a sad life. The group as a whole expressed their longing for tradition and reenchantment through the literature of fantasy. For them, fantasy was a pathway to this higher world, and a way of describing its felt presence through myth and symbolism. Not only did fantasy provide the Inklings with reenchantment, but fantasy also became the voice of their faith. Along with creating fantasy work, they sought to legitimize it. Fantasy was often looked upon as childish, but the group didn't believe that it was something that should be limited to children. Inevitably, they produced essays and lectures that eventually helped make the study of fantasy a credible academic pursuit. Their stories, with all its fantasy, would go on to be some of the most popular books of all time, guiding others to follow the fantastically influenced route. Many authors then and now are influenced by these ideas of fantasy and consider it very valuable. Without the immense success of the fantasy literature and its influence, many other fantastical creations probably would not exist. Harry Potter might not exist. Can you imagine a world without Harry Potter? So even though the Inklings saw themselves as a fairly informal group of friends, they would eventually influence and alter the world of imaginative literature. Along with their love of fantasy, there came a love for Christianity as well. The Chronicles of Narnia, by C.S. Lewis, has a strong theme of Christianity. For example, in the book we're going to be reading, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Aslan is a lion, the great lion, and it parallels Jesus, who's also called a lion in the Bible. The Inklings were considered defenders of Christianity as a whole, and in turn, it influenced an entire generation of writings. Another notable thing the Inklings did was give hope during time of post-war despair. The group came together sometime after World War I, and while other writers and intellectuals turned away from traditional writings, the Inklings wanted to keep some of that within their own writing. They wanted to recover previous ideas not because of curiosity, but as a means of addressing modern anxieties and longings. Instead of breaking with tradition, they understood the war in light of tradition. They believed that the world was not a forsaken one due to the atrocities that had happened. The tragedies of war were framed by the Inklings in the context of rebirth and hope. They wanted to instill positivity and creation rather than be drawn down by negativity. So they made heroes who, despite hardship, won out in the end. So there was a happy ending.
Any questions? Yes?
What gave you the idea to present this entire thing in ink? Like, other than the idea that they were called the Inklings, what made that jump into that?
I didn't want to like go in front of class and talk, so I made a video. Thank you.
I noticed with your techniques, I'm assuming you've done inking before.
I like to. Like, I haven't really learned
So you
how.
have, but you have some background in
Yeah.
I'd love to hear you talk about ink as a medium.
Yeah. I'm not an expert, I don't think. I just like using it because it's kind of nice and like you can get a lot of values from it, and I still need practice, I think, but yeah, I enjoy it. Yes?
Do you find the values of the Inkling group as a whole relevant in today's society?
I definitely. Like with all like fantasy, and if you're really into it, then for sure, especially if you like Lord of the Rings and things like that. Yeah, definitely. Yes?
Did you draw all those slides the first time and got it right, or do you have to redraw them?
I drew all of them like that. Some I planned beforehand, some I just drew. I had a limited amount of time to do it. Yes?
Do you wish that they could have had a more diverse group in the beginning? Like, as you mentioned, they were all British, male, and Christian, or do you think it's worth it for the foundation they laid for the future?
I don't think it would have been bad to have a more diverse group. I don't think anything would be bad with more diversity, but they did associate with some other people. Like there was a few women and stuff like that, but they weren't officially in the Inklings. Yeah. Is that all?